Patronum!
Flying on brooms, fire-spitting monsters, and creatures that only exist in our fantasies. What other movie did all these things, if not our favorite wizard movie franchise of all time, Harry Potter? However, we all know how those things could not be possible if not for the hard work of a very seasoned CGI team. While there are so many talking points about the 8 beautiful Harry Potter movies, let's just talk about a few and take a trip into the magic-filled behind-the-scenes secrets. Was it real magic or computer magic? You're about to find out. But first, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We are giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or MacBook Pro. It's all your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. Let's start with the magical Hogwarts Academy. It was close to impossible for the directors to find a single location to use for the whole of Hogwarts Academy, so they chose various locations across Great Britain and used them in filming the various schools of wizardry. For those wondering how they got good aerial shots of the academy, they pulled them off by building an exact model of the school. They had 86 artists work on the model, and it was lifelike in every aspect. They didn't leave out the littlest of details. Of course, you'll wonder how they designed the many mysteries of the school. A memorable one was the floating candles. Do you remember the Great Hall scene where all the candles were floating in the air and it looked like they were having a Christmas carol? Contrary to your belief, those candles were not CGI. They were real, at least in the first movie. What wasn't real was the ability of these candles to defy the law of gravity. These candles were held in the air by strings, and the CGI team did a great job editing them in post-production. I mean, did you ever doubt for a minute those candles weren't floating? Let us know in the comments section. Another magical scene was where the students had to use moving staircases. It would have been fine if these staircases only moved up and down like the ones we have in the real world. Unfortunately for the CGI team, these stairs moved all over the place. What they did was use one real staircase and a tiny model of multiple staircases. While the students moved on the real staircases, the others made their haphazard movement. We all know about green screens, but have you heard about green gloves? They used them in the scene where Emma Watson, playing Hermione, was placing books on a shelf. All she had to do was put the books close to their location and they floated to their space. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a floating book before, so there must have been some foul play by the CGI team there. It turns out people were wearing green gloves on the other side of the shelf and collected the books and placed them in their locations. Let's talk about one of the infamous villains of all time. We're not allowed to say his name, are we? He's probably dead now, so he can't haunt us in our dreams. Anyways, Voldemort was portrayed by actor Ralph Fiennes. If you've never seen a flick of this fine actor, you'll know he looks nowhere near the terrifying creature we love to hate. The design of Voldemort was more of practical effects than visual effects. The makeup team had to put in long hours, so by the time Ralph came into the makeup section, they only had to spend 2 hours to give him a full face makeover. That might be the world's ugliest makeover ever. They added eyebrow blockers, artificial fingernails, and the likes. One thing they couldn't add was the snake-like nose slits Voldemort was known for. There was no way to get his real nose out of the way unless they cut it off. Why take such drastic measures when they have a CGI team to the rescue? What they did was to cut out his nose and put in the nose slits in every shot. It was a very trying activity as they had to do this for multiple shots. It was like creating a Renaissance painting. The digital brushwork had to be very, very fine to get it to work. Those were the words of Paul Franklin, a senior VFX supervisor on the set of Harry Potter. The magical creatures. One of the Harry Potter franchise features was the variety of creatures that they had in the movies, from house elves to centaurs and hippogriffs. These creatures all looked so realistic and made the movie worthwhile. Let's start with someone you didn't expect to be in this segment, Hagrid. You probably think because he was a human, acted by a human, he didn't need any digital enhancements. Let's gladly remind you that Hagrid was half giant. This means he had to look taller than everyone else on the set. Just like Voldemort, they used more practical effects on him. Robbie Coltrane, who played Hagrid, had a body double named Martin Bayfield, who was over 6 feet tall. He only had to wear a mask to make him look like Hagrid. For the scenes inside his hut, they used 2 different huts, a large hut and a smaller one. In scenes where they showed Hagrid, they used the smaller one so Hagrid could look bigger. For other actors, they used the bigger one so actors could look smaller than Hagrid. This must have taken a lot of time as they had to continuously switch huts to take the different shots. The next supernatural creature we'll talk about is Hagrid's pet, Buckbeak. The hippogriff was a giant bird that had the build of a horse. Every single feather of this bird was made using CGI. The team had to talk to vets and physiologists to understand the way the flight of birds works. This made their digital rendition of Buckbeak as lifelike as possible. The friendliest creatures in the franchise were the house elves. The most prominent house elf in the franchise was Dobby. Dobby was also totally digitalized, just just like Buckbeak, Toby Jones, the actor who voiced him sometimes, stayed on set to give the actors a reference point to look at while acting. In The Deathly Hallows, Dobby was portrayed by actress Diane Gibbons, who wore makeup and prosthetics to give the CGI team a figure to work on. However, her role was limited to movements as Toby Jones remained the lovely Dobby's voice throughout the franchise. The last creature we'll look at, and one of the scariest throughout the franchise, was the basilisk. The CGI team needed to make a model of the creature. It was then digitized to become the terror that petrified so many. The model they made could even move, and they made the creature slither up towards Harry during acting. Daniel Radcliffe, playing Harry, must have had a scare he would remember for a while. Secrets behind Quidditch. None of the Harry Potter movies would be complete without someone flying on a broomstick. You'll agree with me that those flights always looked epic. I would give anything to try out one of those flights. However, how do they manage to pull these imaginary flights off? They used different methods. Rupert Grint, who played Ron, recalled one of the moments where he was jumping on a trampoline with a broomstick and the crew was throwing balls at him. That must have been quite a scare for poor Rupert. They used another method where the actors sat on a broom attached to a robot. The robot would move underneath them. Of course, this was done in front of a green screen, and they used a giant fan to provide artificial wind. With all the noise and mayhem that came with this, the actors could not talk while acting these scenes. Since most of them were filmed separately, they had to shoot these scenes for several hours as they needed multiple angles for each actor. I wonder how uncomfortable it must have been to sit on a broomstick for that long. Kudos to every single actor who had to do some flying. The Battle of Hogwarts. If you remember nothing about the second part of the Deathly Hallows, the final battle will forever stick with you. From Harry and Voldemort's epic battle to the explosive fire in the Room of Requirements, there were so many scenes to remember. Remember when Ron and Hermione destroyed one of the Horcruxes in the Chamber of Secrets with a basilisk's tooth? They had to run for dear lives afterwards, and all the water in the chamber rose with such vigor it seemed they'd be drowned in the current. It turned out that the current was not that strong as they were only soaked. They definitely didn't waste that much water just to soak the two of them. What they did was to dump a bucket of water, or two, on both of them and add the rest using CGI. Let's talk about the battle. We all know the beautiful Hogwarts castle got destroyed during the battle. We all know they couldn't have left a real building in such an irreparable state. What they did was to use the model that they had made from the first movie in this scene. They also made up to 5 other models just to destroy them. What a waste of good buildings. A hobo would be jealous. Anyway, it was worth the mayhem at the end. The cost, while it is quite familiar for movies made with such talent and skill to make a huge profit at the box office, the 8 Harry Potter movies made a killing out of it. The whole franchise had a $1.5 billion budget, while they made over $7 billion in profits. We're not so good at math, but we know that is well over 100% made in profits. We couldn't expect less from the prince of all wizardry movies. With that, ladies and gents, we've come to the end of our tour behind the scenes of Harry Potter. Thank you for watching. If you think we missed out on any CGI moments, let us know in the comments section. Later. But first, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We are giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or MacBook Pro. It's all your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple.